Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to stay tuned because today's topic could save you a ton of time, energy, and heartache. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Take a second to relax, enjoy the moment, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Oh, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, it really helps. Let me tell you something straight up, women don't always say what they mean, but they always mean what they say. If you're not paying close attention, you could be walking right into a trap. I'm not talking about the usual little arguments or differences in opinion. I'm talking about massive red flags, the kind so big they could blot out the sun. These are the signs that scream, get out now before it's too late. Too many guys brush these warnings off, thinking, maybe she didn't mean it like that, or I can change her mind. But here's the truth, if she says certain things, it's not an accident. It's a glimpse into how she thinks, how she views relationships, and, most importantly, how she sees you. Let's be real, modern dating is a minefield. The worst mistake you can make is pouring your time, energy, and emotions into a woman who doesn't respect you. You don't want to wake up one day realizing you've wasted months, or even years, on someone who was never right for you in the first place. That's why this video is so important. I'm going to break down 5 phrases, just 5, that, if they ever come out of a woman's mouth, should make you seriously rethink your involvement with her. Here's the deal, a woman's words reveal her mindset, and her mindset determines how she'll treat you. If she says these things, she's showing you who she really is. Your job is to pay attention. Now, before we dive in, let me make one thing clear, this isn't about bashing women. This is about protecting yourself as a man. Too many guys stay stuck in toxic relationships because they don't recognize the signs early enough. That stops today. If you want to avoid unnecessary stress, heartbreak, and wasted time, keep watching. I'm about to give you the blueprint for spotting the women you need to walk away from, before it's too late. Let's get into it. 1. We don't need to define this. Fellas, if a woman tells you, we don't need to define this, she's sending you a crystal clear message. You're an option, not a priority. If you stick around, you're setting yourself up for confusion, frustration, and a whole lot of wasted time. Let's be honest, when a woman is truly into you, she wants clarity. She wants to know where things are headed. If she's avoiding labels, it's because she wants the perks of a relationship without any of the responsibility. That means she can do whatever she wants, see whoever she wants, and still keep you around as a backup plan. Now, some guys hear this and think, maybe she's just taking things slow. Nope. There's a difference between pacing a relationship and keeping it undefined forever. If months have gone by and she's still dodging the "what are we?" conversation, she's not confused, she's keeping her options open. And here's where it gets dangerous, the longer you stay, the more emotionally invested you become. Meanwhile, she's living stress-free, knowing she can walk away whenever she wants. No strings attached. When she finally moves on, you're left wondering what went wrong, while she's already on to the next guy. Think about it, would you ever take a job where the boss says, let's not define your role, just show up and work? Of course not. You'd want to know your position, your benefits, and your future with the company. Relationships work the same way. So, what should you do if a woman tells you she doesn't want to define things? Walk away. Or at least take a big step back. Make it clear that you're looking for something real, not a situation where she controls all the rules. If she truly values you, she'll make things official. If not, she was never serious in the first place. Here's something to remember, a woman who really likes you will never risk losing you to someone else. If she's okay with keeping things casual indefinitely, it's because she doesn't see you as the one. Don't settle for confusion. If she's dodging commitment, let her go and find someone who actually wants to build something with you. Simple as that. 2. Take me as I am. When a woman says, take me as I am, it might sound like confidence, but in reality, it's often just an excuse to avoid accountability. What she's really saying is, I don't need to improve, and you just have to deal with it. This phrase is a major warning sign because it shows she's not interested in growth, compromise, or making the relationship better. It's all about her. Every healthy relationship requires both people to evolve. No one's perfect, and that's okay. But refusing to acknowledge flaws and work on them is a huge red flag. Imagine you're in a relationship where every time you bring up a concern, she dismisses it with, "That's just how I am." Where does that leave you? Frustrated, unheard, and forced to accept things that aren't okay. Let's put it into perspective. Say you're always on time for dates, but she constantly shows up late, sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. You finally bring it up, explaining that it makes you feel disrespected. Instead of acknowledging the issue, she says, "That's just how I am. I'm always late. You should just accept it." Right there, she's telling you that your feelings don't matter. Instead of making an effort to be better, she's expecting you to put up with behavior that bothers you. Now, what happens when this mindset applies to bigger issues? Maybe she has a bad temper and lashes out over small things. Maybe she refuses to communicate when there's a problem. If she's unwilling to grow in a relationship, where does that leave you? You'll always be the one adjusting, always bending to fit her world, while she refuses to do the same for you. That's not a relationship, that's emotional selfishness. A strong woman doesn't say, "Take me as I am." A strong woman says, "I'm not perfect, but I'll work on myself, just like you will." That's the kind of partner you want, someone who understands that love is a two-way street. If you hear a woman say, "Take me as I am," pay attention to how she says it. If she's using it to avoid taking responsibility for bad behavior, that's a problem. No one should be expected to tolerate disrespect, lack of effort, or an unwillingness to grow. If she refuses to meet you halfway, the best thing you can do is walk away. There are women out there who will value you and put in the effort. Don't waste your time on someone who won't. 3. You're lucky to have me. At first, this might sound like confidence, but if you really pay attention, it's often a sign of entitlement. When a woman says this, what she's really implying is that she's the prize, and you should feel grateful just to be in her presence. But let's get one thing straight, a healthy relationship is built on mutual appreciation, not one person feeling superior to the other. Now, don't get me wrong, confidence is attractive. You want a woman who knows her worth, just like you should know yours. But there's a difference between knowing your value and using it to belittle your partner. If a woman constantly reminds you that you're lucky to have her but never shows gratitude for you, it's a problem. A strong relationship isn't about one person feeling like the catch while the other feels like they have to constantly prove their worth. That's not love, that's imbalance. Think about how this plays out over time. If she genuinely believes you're the lucky one, what happens when there's an argument? What happens when you have needs, concerns, or expectations? Chances are, she'll dismiss them because, in her mind, she's already doing you a favor by being with you. She won't feel the need to compromise. Why would she? After all, she thinks she's the one in control. This mindset can create a dangerous dynamic where you feel like you have to constantly earn her approval. Maybe you start going out of your way to impress her, apologizing even when you're not wrong, or putting her happiness before your own, just to keep her satisfied. And guess what? It'll never be enough. If she sees herself as the prize and you as the lucky one, she'll always expect more while giving less. A great woman doesn't need to tell you that you're lucky to have her. She shows you through her actions. She appreciates what you bring to the table, just like you appreciate her. She values the effort you put in and makes sure she's doing the same. That's the kind of dynamic that leads to a strong, lasting connection. If a woman keeps reminding you that you're lucky to have her, take a step back and ask yourself, does she make me feel valued, or just replaceable? A relationship should be built on mutual respect, effort, and appreciation, not one person thinking they're above the other. If that's not what you're getting, don't be afraid to walk away. For, all my exes were the problem. If a woman says this, it might seem like she just had bad luck in relationships. But take a second to really think about what she's saying. She's telling you that every single guy she's been with was toxic, crazy, or immature, but somehow, she was never the issue. That's not bad luck, that's a pattern. And if you're not careful, you'll be the next guy on her list of horrible exes. Here's the truth, relationships take two people. Of course, some men out there are problematic, just like some women are, But if a woman refuses to take any accountability for past relationships, that's a huge red flag. It means she's either unable or unwilling to reflect on her own mistakes. If she doesn't see what she did wrong in the past, what makes you think she'll handle things any differently with you? But let's be honest, too many men ignore this sign. They hear a woman talk about her crazy exes and immediately take her side, thinking, she just needs a good guy like me. Wrong. If she has a history of broken relationships, it's not always about the men. Sometimes, it's about her choices, her behavior, or the way she handles conflict. And if you step in, trying to be her savior, you're setting yourself up to be blamed when things go wrong, just like the guys before you. A woman who can't acknowledge her past mistakes will repeat them. If every ex she had was a liar, a cheater, or a terrible person, what's the common denominator? Her. Either she's constantly choosing the wrong men, or she's creating problems in her relationships that she refuses to see. And if she refuses to see them, that means she's not learning. And if she's not learning, she's not growing. That's the kind of woman who will turn around one day and say the exact same things about you. What you need is a woman who owns her past, a woman who can say, I made mistakes too, and I've learned from them. That's someone who's mature enough to be in a real relationship. Because let's face it, nobody's perfect. A woman who never takes responsibility for anything will never take responsibility for hurting you either. So, don't ignore this red flag. If she blames every past relationship on the other person, be smart enough to recognize what that means. You don't need to be another name on her list of problems. Walk away while you still can. 5. If you loved me, you would. This is one of the most dangerous phrases a woman can say in a relationship. Why? Because it's pure emotional manipulation. She's not asking for love, she's trying to control you. She's setting up a situation where, if you don't do exactly what she wants, she can make you feel guilty by questioning your love for her. That's not love, it's a power play. Let's take a moment to clarify something important. In any healthy, balanced relationship, it's crucial for both partners to feel comfortable expressing their needs, desires, and emotions. There's absolutely nothing wrong with expecting something from your partner, whether it's affection, attention, or support. In fact, healthy relationships thrive on open communication and the understanding that both people have valid needs. However, the line gets crossed when one partner, especially a woman, in this case, begins to tie your love to your willingness to comply with her demands. This is where the dynamics of manipulation start to creep in. What she's essentially communicating is that love is no longer about mutual respect, trust, and understanding. It becomes a transactional game where your love is only validated when you constantly prove your worth by jumping through her ever-growing hoops. Now, here's where things get tricky. Once you fall into this pattern and begin to comply with these subtle tests, it doesn't just stop. Initially, the demands may seem relatively minor. It could start with something like, if you loved me, you would cancel your plans and spend the night with me instead. At first, this might seem like a reasonable request, a simple gesture of affection. But over time, you'll start noticing that these seemingly innocent demands begin to pile up. The stakes get higher. If you truly loved me, you wouldn't talk to your female friends anymore. If you really cared about me, you would buy me this expensive gift. If you loved me, you would do exactly as I say without question or hesitation. Before long, you'll find that your entire life begins to revolve around constantly keeping her satisfied and happy, not because you genuinely want to, but because you're afraid of facing guilt or rejection if you don't. You might start questioning your own desires, plans, and commitments because her happiness becomes the central focus of your existence. And the most insidious part of this? It will never, ever be enough. No matter how much you sacrifice, no matter how much you do, there will always be another test, another condition, another demand that she'll place on you. It becomes an exhausting cycle that you can't escape, no matter how hard you try. And if you ever find yourself standing your ground, pushing back against one of her demands, that's when the manipulation truly shows its ugly face. Suddenly, you're the villain in the story. You're the one who doesn't care, the one who's selfish, the one who isn't trying hard enough to make her happy. It's a vicious cycle that can erode your self-esteem and sense of identity, leaving you feeling perpetually inadequate, no matter how much effort you put into the relationship. That right there is emotional control at its finest, something that many men tend to miss or misunderstand. This is the point where a lot of men go astray in relationships. They ignore the signs and mistakenly believe that by giving in to every demand or playing along with every emotional plea, they're somehow proving their love. But here's the truth, real love doesn't require constant proof, nor does it thrive on manipulation or testing. If someone truly loves you, they won't try to play with your emotions every time they want something or when things don't go their way. A woman who genuinely cares about you will respect your feelings, honor your choices, acknowledge your boundaries, and, above all, appreciate your ability to say no when something isn't right for you. So, if you ever hear that familiar line, whether it's, "If you really loved me, you would," or something else that puts the pressure on you to prove your affection, pause for a moment and think deeply. Ask yourself, is she truly expressing a legitimate need, or is she trying to manipulate my emotions? The moment love turns into a bargaining tool, where your worth is measured by how much you're willing to give or sacrifice, you're no longer in a healthy, loving relationship. Instead, you're caught in a game with rules that don't favor you. And in this game, you'll always be the one losing. Don't play along. Don't let guilt and pressure push you into situations where you're forced to compromise who you are or what you believe, all in the name of proving something that doesn't need to be proven. Love is supposed to be built on mutual care, shared respect, and a willingness to work together. It's not about testing each other's limits, issuing ultimatums, or demanding more than what's reasonable. If she can't accept that, if she refuses to see you as an equal partner in this relationship, then it's time to walk away. Yes, it might feel tough, but remember, leaving is a form of self-respect. It's a recognition that you deserve better, that you deserve someone who understands and appreciates the kind of love you're capable of offering. At the end of the day, one of the biggest mistakes men make in relationships is ignoring the warning signs. They think they can somehow change a woman who doesn't want to change or doesn't see the value in making the relationship better. Too often, men fall into the trap of justifying bad behavior, making excuses for things that clearly aren't right, and holding on to the hope that if they just love her enough, things will eventually get better. Let me be clear, a woman who doesn't respect you will never truly love you. And if you don't respect yourself enough to walk away when you see these toxic patterns, you're only making it easier for her to keep using you. It's not about loving her more, it's about loving yourself enough to know when to step away. Now, I know many of you have been in situations like this. Maybe you've dealt with a woman who refused to define the relationship, who made you feel as if you were lucky just to have her in your life. Or perhaps she used guilt as a way to manipulate you into getting what she wanted. If any of this sounds familiar, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your experience with me. Trust me, I'm listening, and so are others. You're not alone in this journey, and your voice matters. If you take away just one thing from this message, let it be this: real love doesn't come with conditions, games, or manipulation. The moment you spot those red flags, don't argue, don't negotiate, don't make excuses. Just walk away. You'll find that the sooner you do, the sooner you'll be free to embrace a love that is genuine, healthy, and deserving of who you are. The right person is out there waiting for you. Don't settle for less than you deserve. Thank you for watching until the end. If you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to hit that button, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you so much.